Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. The sun is already shining down on us today here in central Illinois. I think it's shaping up to be another beautiful day to put some corn and soybeans in the ground if it is dry enough. We are going to go out and scout some fields that are very, very close to being passable with the planter. Before we get too far along, make sure you like the video and subscribe if you enjoy what you see. Let's get to work. We've got a field of corn stalks that was hit with the ripper in the fall, hit again with the field cultivator about 3 or 4 days ago. I think it may be close on our list. Not terribly muddy down below. Balling up a little bit in my fingers, but it's already been worked. We may be able to plant that. Here's some lighter dirt right up the road. Part of it was hit with a field cultivator. The other half was left just vertical tilt. We ran the backhoe down by the ditch this winter, and it definitely needed leveled out, so we had the field cultivator out here. We figured we might as well work a little bit of it. By the time I get the seed tender loaded, the planter over here be in perfect shape. But the way this morning's going for me so far, we may not be out here till the end of the day. I've been dealing with some computer problems at home that are going to be the death of me. It's the last thing I won't have to worry about right now is my darn computer working. The Windows 10 operating system keeps being a little rascal and corrupting somehow, even if I reinstall it new. Hopefully it works itself out eventually. That or I'm just gonna take a hammer to the computer. Either one. Farming is just a lot of driving in different vehicles all day. Or at least like 90% of the days. You're in a truck, and then you're in the tractor, then you're in a truck, then you're in a different tractor. You've got to be adaptable. I prefer my truck the most though. Actually, I take that back. I prefer the things I don't have to steer in. He just went behind the hill, but the corn planter is rolling already this morning. I guess that means I should probably go do something productive other than drive around all day. These are fancy view. Whoa. Hitch down. My scouting report shows that I have 4 different fields that should plant today. There's 1 different variety of soybeans for each field, so we have 4 varieties to deal with and 2 sets of herbicide technology, Extend and Extend Flex. The Extend beans are Pioneer, and that's what we're going to be planting first. This will be the first time so far this season that I'm planting 2 different varieties within the same herbicide platform. Prior to this, I was completely switching in between every field, so the planter was always empty. When you're planting similar varieties, you have to keep in mind the maturity when you're planning out which field you're going to. What you want to avoid is going from a longer season soybean, a 3-4 in this instance, to a shorter season soybean, a 3-1. Those are the 2 Pioneer Extend soybeans that we're planting. If you go from the 3-4 to the 3-1 and your planter is not cleaned out, you will have those later maturing soybeans mixed in with the earlier soybeans. In that instance, come harvest time, the shorter season 3-1 soybeans will be ready before the 3-4 soybeans. Those 3-4s will be intermingled out in the field and green while the other soybeans are dry and ready to cut. It's completely okay on the opposite end to come from a 3-1 to a 3-4 because you know all the 3-1 soybeans will be mature once the 3-4s are ready to go. This isn't really a huge deal, but it is something to keep in mind. A 3-1 to a 3-4 maturity isn't that big of a gap. It may be a week or even just 3 or 4 days difference come harvest time. If you were going from a 3-9 back to a 3-1 though, you could be looking at 2+ weeks difference. That's enough to throw a wrench in your plans. Maybe you have to send a combine back and cut beans that aren't ready. We try to avoid it. Like I said though, it's not the end of the world if it happens. We're gonna head up to Bruce and Wes's, pick up some Pioneer Extend soybeans. Up there, they come through, they get all the polish on them, and this helps stir the product, mix it on, comes out there, it goes to the seed tender. We're picking up both the 3-1 and the 3-4 Extend Pioneer soybean. We have to keep them separate. Obviously, we don't want them to mix. So we're putting the 3-4s on the front of the seed tender and the 3-1s on the back. The 3-1s are not in bulk storage. They're sitting in a Pro Box, so Wes is just going to dump them in. It'll be a little bit quicker than this thing. Weight's going down slowly. Yeah. Another fungicide. These fields have to be super accurate. They're putting on such a small quantity of product. They measure down to the 100th of a pound. And I presume they're accurate probably to the 1,000. We'll put the 3 ones on the back. Hopefully they all fit. A lot of seed around here. Here's our treatment control panel. Pretty high tech. All of these 3 floors should be treated. What's left is running out. Nice and green in the treater. Making myself a note of which maturity is on which side of the seed tender and also what they weigh so I know how to split the planter. A little bit quicker this way. Bringing 4 bags of a 3-1 soybean untreated. That way if I don't have enough in here, those will finish me off. I really shouldn't need them, but you don't want to be stuck out there in the field with no seed left and not have any options. We'll probably be about 25 minutes away from the seed shed. It's a lot nicer watching him work than having to load it myself. He's also a lot better in a forklift than I am. I would still be trying to pick up the first Pro Box. He's on his 3rd. We'd be here all day at my pace. On the road again. Oh boy, we got a heavy load on us now. We gotta make sure we get the right bean. And the 3 ones are on the back. Turn that on. Gear those up. There we go. 31,895 going in the planter. It's not super warm out right now, but the wind's blowing and the sun's out. Should dry things out even more. I'm hoping that I can fit all these 3 ones in the planter, but I doubt it. There's a lot in the seed tender. Nice and full. Just how we like it. Give it a nice beating so I get all of the beans out of the seal. There's definitely more to the east than there's to the west. I'm gonna go ahead and move them over now. My math shows me they'll have plenty of seed anyways. Doesn't hurt to do it while it's up top. I got this extra 5-gallon bucket just for the job. Okay, seed tanks are closed up. We got our 4 just-in-case bags of 31,822 untreated soybeans. Hoping to return these later and not need them. Rather have them and not need them though, and need them and not have them, as they say. Let's go hit the field. If I'm not back here at the farm for a long time, that's a good deal. Got some acres to knock out today. We are approaching Route 45, a good place to get run over. So if you don't hear from me, something went terribly wrong. No worries, folks. We made it to the field, and we're successfully planting, at least so far. Some nice dark ground we're in here. All right, time for a depth check. Also, it's actually still a little bit wet out here. The planter is fully loaded, which is probably part of the problem. It's a lot of weight. Doesn't look like they're going in very deep. About an inch in the ground. Plenty of moisture there. Almost afraid it's too wet. Look at my knife. We'll keep planting and see how things develop. I think the neighbor was tired of us encroaching on his lane, run right over the flags. Over time, you just work more and more and more. Not really maliciously. Gotta get everything worked up. I'd say we're farming about 3 or 4 foot of his lane. We've got our Pioneer 31,895 set on the planter here. All 32 rows, plain yellow. I wouldn't call this seedbed condition perfect by any means. It's very soft. One of my biggest complaints about where we run the rippers in the fall is how loose the soil is come spring. I know that that's kind of the goal of those implements, to chop up the soil, leave it very loose, but when I come back here in the spring, I'm really packing it down with the planter. Obviously it's kind of fluffy from being worked 8 to 10 inches deep last fall. I just don't like it. I'd rather vertical till this, come into a nice solid seed bed, good soil structure, and not be packing it around and sliding around everywhere with the planter because it's so loose. Even with the differential lock on, this tractor's working pretty hard to stay straight on the line. Oh well, it is what it is. There's pros and cons to everything you do. I can't completely blame the ripper though. I do have about 4,000 pounds of seed in the back. I found that if you turn your music up loud enough, you can't even hear the beeping. We seem to have gotten ourselves in a predicament here. Told you it was soft here in the terrace bottoms. Well, we're kind of making headway. Whew. I think we got it. Barely. The planter's concerned because it's not planting right now. Trust me, buddy, you're not the only one concerned. Whew. That was close. Kind of misleading out here. You take a step and then you sink down 4 or 5 inches. mud underneath. Should have known better. I should probably save some of those 3-1 soybeans. We're gonna be back out here, guaranteed. I don't even know if I was planning right there. Once you start to drag the tires through the mud, the planter realizes that the wheels are not spinning and it stops planting. Not only are we gonna have to come out here and plant, it'll probably need field cultivated through there. The rest of the farm planted fine. You got these silly terraces on the northwest corner. Made a mess. I would say that we were probably about an inch or two deeper in the ground away from having to make a phone call that you never want to have to make. Once that planter goes in the ground, the tractor starts spinning, those 8Rs are not that great in the mud. Fortunately, I spun my way out. I didn't do it though without making it kind of sloppy. Got a little bit of mud on the tires. As long as the units aren't plugged, we're good to go. When I say to plant your beans early if it's dry, that is not what I mean right there. I think that was a trick from Mother Nature. It looks dry on top. Who knows though? They may come up 100 bushel beans. You heard it here first, that's the secret, mud them in. Thank you, Bill and Stan, for letting me cross your field. I promise to not do to you what I just did to our field. Look, it's dry over here. You guys have all the luck. We made it safely to the next field. We're not even remotely concerned about what just happened. Everyone just calm down, settle down. No one freak out. It's all about keeping your composure. Now, if we would have gotten stuck, then we could freak out, but we didn't, so there was no need to do that. I was actually just talking to the boss on the phone, and I told him, well, those terraces on that farm are pretty wet. I almost got stuck, and he said, it's okay, I about got stuck too. I don't feel that bad anymore. Not that I felt bad in the first place. Wow, look at that rock check, Bill. You did a good job. We're back planting ground that was just hit with the vertical till last fall. We're not having any tillage done in the spring, so we gotta double check and make sure our seed's in the right place. How soft this ground is. Perfect. We got some seeds right there. Inch to an inch and a quarter in the ground. We're just in the top layer of moisture. We don't want to be too deep on this ground. It's a little bit lighter. I think we're going to leave it where it is and keep planting. If I don't clean this out, I'll just sit here and rub. I want to reduce any unnecessary wear on the tire. Plus it'll all fall out when I go down the road. My goal most of the time is to teach you how to farm and occasionally entertain you. Sometimes to teach, you have to show people what not to do. And that was a perfect example of ground that is too wet to plant. Another factor that I was just complaining about that played a role in that was the ripper running over those terraces. I do not know why that part of the field has worked. For one, it's on a pretty good slope. You don't want to rip anything that's erodible. And two, the light ground up there on the terrace is very soft. There's no reason to run the ripper up there. From now on though, we need to ensure that that has not worked that intensively. The field cultivators did a somewhat decent job of leveling out all the dirt I pulled out of this ditch. It's not exactly smooth, but it's better than it was. Unfortunately, it looks like we pulled out some rocks and concrete as well. Lenny's here to get some more observation hours in the tractor. Once you hit about 10 hours, you're qualified to run it, especially if farming's in your blood. Speaking of the devil, there goes Stan right there. Looks like they're putting on some anhydrous. Hopefully they don't see where I about got stuck. It's best when those happen in areas where no one else will see. Unfortunately, I think they will see that. Lenny, you're supposed to be paying attention. I guess this is a good place to take a nap. Not for me. I had to plant 3 terraces on the north side of this farm, and not a single one of them was even close to as muddy as the one on the south farm. So I think something's up over there, whether it's the ripper, maybe a tile problem, who knows. It shouldn't have been that wet. Or at least that's the excuse I'm going for. I didn't know any better. It looks like their anhydrous is going on real nice. Beautiful day to put on some gas. I don't like to cross the interstate overpass without having some kind of a spotter. So I've got Allie on the phone. How's it look, Allie?
Good, just right.
Any cars coming?
No.
It's not that narrow of a bridge, but I like to have someone looking for me. Hello, Interstate 57 travelers. Oh, the corn planter's been here. Both sides are planted. He's zipping away down there on that big 120-acre farm. That may be his last field to plant. The farm we're about to plant is on the south side of the road. I turned in here to the cornfield because the seed tender's auger or conveyor is on the left side. So if it comes from the west, it won't have to turn around. It can pull up here. We'll load. I'll get into that field, and then the seed tender can figure out how it wants to get home. We also need to empty the excess 3-1s out of here. The row units aren't clean, but that doesn't matter. Got our bags. Let's dump out these beans. A little slower than I'd like. That is the not overwhelming speed slide. Move to the other one now. All right, now we're gonna put an overdrive. Chris, I need some assistance.
Yeah, baby.
Well, it came out a lot faster than I thought it was going to. We got almost all the 3 ones out this side, and the other side was almost empty when I left the field. Yeah, it's got even less. Now we can put the 34 A79s in. These Pioneer 34 A79 extends are supposed to be a really good bean. I'm excited to see what they're going to do for us this growing season. Hopefully 100 plus bushels an acre. Well, actually, that's my goal on every acre. So hopefully they do that. Why didn't you guys tell me that my drawstrings on this hoodie are grotesquely uneven? Look at that. It's been like that all day. There goes Chris back home with the seed tender. Unfortunately, this part of the farm is not the same as the rest of the farm. It will give us a good idea, though, of where the seed's at, if there's any seeds in there. Finally found one. 1.25 inches. It's about where they've all been. Trying to decide if that's where I want to keep it. We've got a mixture of some lighter rolling ground here up on the hill, and on the bottom part we've got some nice dark low-lying soil. I think we'll keep it where it's at. It's in the moisture. I don't know if we're going to have any rain in the forecast. I don't want it to be too shallow. Let's plant this field. It's so relieving to have the inrows done on a field. Once you get those done, planting gets a whole lot easier. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Plant right over it. Nice. Now we need to go back and hit it from the other direction. It'd be nice if someone didn't run over every single thing that we mark something with. These darned old clay tiles. Eventually we're just gonna have to condemn them all and get a plow out here and run all new tile. I think we fixed this tile in different places multiple times in the last few years. Nothing good lasts forever. Well, there's another big tile hole. That's 2 so far. Well, make that 3 tile holes. They just keep coming. Those last 2 were all on the same line. It appears that we have a row unit dragging up. Maybe even 2. No, I think it's just that one. Well, that'll do it. Bearing go out. There should be a gap in between these 2 parts. You can see here there's not. I would say that has something to do with it. See, when you move it, the whole thing's not supposed to spin. Just this part is supposed to move, like this. The service truck showed up and we got it put back together. Nothing was wrong with this. This bolt that spaces it had gotten loose. There's another bolt that sits inside of it. And so it kind of got to a point where it wouldn't travel up and down anymore. It was just locked up. It's not this unit, but this is what it looks like now. It's freely traveling. And when it goes up, it gets stopped by the depth gauge. We've got water on the surface here, which is probably a tile bubbling up. It's the only reason that'd still be that wet. Well, everyone, we just messed up big time. I've planted around probably 6 inlets today. I just hit my 7th one, and it's not the type of inlet you want to hit, or at least the first time. The few white inlets we have remaining on the farm are one-piece inlets all the way down to the tile underground. They've since then redesigned how they make these inlets. There's no way to attach that one to that one. We'll have to come in later, install some kind of a joint, and then we can put one of the orange or yellow ones on there that's easily removable. At one point in time, a lot of these inlets on these older farms were all white. 2 of them on these terraces are yellow or orange now, which means they've been run over. Just a matter of time before you hit one. It's kind of wedged in there. Don't think it's gonna go anywhere. We'll have to get that fixed here soon. I was doing so well today, and that's the one I had to hit. At least we got a nice sunset coming in. We're on the last few passes of this field. I'm not sure if we're going to an enlist or an extend flex bean next, but it's not going to be extend. So we're running the row units empty. Ooh, it's a nice evening here in Central Illinois. There's someone's shoe. Interesting thing to find out here. I wonder how some of these items get out in the field. I guess we'll never know. Here goes the planter home. Why did I get evicted out of the tractor to drive my truck home when the farm was just a mile away? I don't know. I'm not the boss. I don't really care though. We got a few fields done today, not as much as I was hoping to do. In retrospect, maybe we should have waited another day or 2 to plant some of these farms. 95% of the fields were in great shape. The other 5% was a little bit tacky, to say the least. Fortunately, we did not get stuck. We were very close to having to call for a 4-wheel drive tractor, No big deal though, we got through it. We'll have to go back and fix a few spots that probably will not come up. Other than that though, that's gonna end it for the day. I gotta go home, fix some computer problems. I appreciate you all tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you wanna see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day everyone, peace.